Hi YouTube, WatchFi here with another video. In this one I'm going to take a closer look at what is being referred to as the Casio Datejust Tiffany that I recently picked up for $60, and after having worn it for a couple of weeks, I'll give my opinion on whether this watch is worthy of the hype that it's been getting. Casio has this watch in their vintage series, and it comes in multiple different dial colors besides this light turquoise one. You can get this watch with a green, white, blue, or black dial. There's also gold accented versions with white and I think dark blue or a black dial. There may be other versions too, but those are the only ones I could locate. Of note is that there is a ladies version of this watch that has a 30mm case size. Those have the model names starting with MTP1302D-2A2. Of the different variants, I'm pretty sure this light turquoise blue dialed one is the most popular. And you can find them on eBay starting off at above $80 from overseas sellers. Many I'm seeing are being sold for well over $100 though. It comes in this decorative bronze colored metal tin. There really isn't much special about this watch other than its dial color. It has a basic battery powered 2784 module quartz movement, polished bar shaped indices, and polished sword styled hands. It does have some fluting along the bezel, so that provides a bit of flair, I suppose. The bracelet is subpar when you compare it to other OEM bracelets like from Seiko, for example. And there appears to be something odd about the material Casio chose to use for the case. On the Casio website, it only mentions that the case is ion plated. So if the case is chrome plated, what's the underlying material? On Amazon and on other sites, there is a mention of the case being made of brass. So why would Casio do that? Probably because brass is cheaper than stainless steel. That would be my guess. From what I can tell, brass is also heavier than steel, but when I weigh this Casio and compare it to a similarly sized Citizen watch, it weighs 28 grams less, although I think a lot of that extra weight on the Citizen is coming from the more substantial bracelet. The case itself is polished throughout with no finishing seen on its exterior. When I see a case that's all polished, it gives off a cheaper watch type of vibe to me. The case back is the snap-on style, and the 3 o'clock push-pull crown is a bit undersized in my opinion. There is a question as to what will happen to the case if it gets scratched. Will you see the brass underneath? And for that matter, over time with everyday use, would the chrome IP coating wear away? I couldn't locate any pictures of a beat up MTP1302 to confirm. Moving on to the dial, it has a simple matte texture. You can see the shade of turquoise used is lighter, and here it is compared to the turquoise dial of the Seiko SRPK33, which has a much darker shade. An interesting visual aspect of the dial is the small numerals that you can see above each indice. On closer inspection, the polished indices are not applied, but rather are pressed through and part of the dial, if that makes sense. The inner part of the bezel, the part under the crystal, does have a brushed finish to it. I think the dial would have looked cleaner without the WR 50-meter wording seen near 6 o'clock. Besides, 5-bar water resistance really isn't something special to note anyway. There is no lume on the dial, just on the hour and minute hand. I would have preferred if Casio placed lume dots above or below each indice like you see on the Citizen and on the Seiko SARB 033. Covering the dial is just a flat mineral crystal. The bracelet has hollow female end links that I think they fit the case shape pretty well. The bracelet has folded links, but overall it looks fine, although it does feel pretty light. It's not as bad of a hair puller as the Casio bracelets that come on their retro digitals. I did notice that the bracelet isn't very flexible, and that's probably due to the folded links. The clasp is pressed metal, and there is no push button release like you often see with watches or bracelets of this type. So the clasp is just held on by friction. Of course, if you don't like the bracelet, you could swap it out for any 20mm strap you would want. We often see models from mainstream affordable watch brands become wildly popular and in demand if they're mimicking or paying homage to a more expensive watch brand model. So is this Casio just a poor man's Rolex Datejust Tiffany? And is that its only novelty? Or rather, can it stand on its own as a good value watch that just happens to share some design traits of a more expensive watch? This is a curious watch indeed. Would I say that it's worth its $74.95 retail price, or even its commonly seen below retail price of $60? For me, that's a no. I think this is more along the lines of a $30 to $40 watch, if I'm being honest. For the price I paid, I'd say I was a bit underwhelmed with the watch as a whole. I don't get the feeling that it would stand up well to everyday wear with its coated brass case. Is it a cool watch to have as part of a Casio collection? Sure, but otherwise there are cheaper alternatives, many with better specs if you don't mind going off-brand. If you're on a tight budget though and need a dressy looking quartz watch from an established brand, I suppose this watch could fill that niche. That's going to be it for this video. I hope you found it helpful or interesting, and if you did, feel free to leave a like, comment, or even consider subscribing. I of course wanted to thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in another video.